All right, all right. What's happening? It's Sunday night, off the cuff, Rocked On Detroit Lions. And I got to tell you, man, I feel like a DJ listening to the entry song. I love that little intro song. I'm going to have to get back to listening to music. It's like I just don't have time anymore. But hey, let's talk about some football tonight. So, a few things tonight. Number one, the chat or the giveaway last night got screwed up because when those trolls were in here, I don't know if they were Vikings fans or Packers fans or whatever. When I deleted it, it deleted the live chat replay. And I was warned about that and I forgot about it. So we couldn't figure out who the first person was to comment. And without having the proof, I just didn't think it was right to just hand it to somebody. So we'll do it again tonight. And I apologize to anybody that doesn't make the live tonight that participated yesterday. So don't worry, there'll be plenty of giveaways throughout the year, especially come training camp time with training camp tickets and things of that nature. So, all right. Danielle Hunter, yes, Braylon Dennis. I want to talk about him tonight. And the reason why now is because, well, the salary cap just got a nice little bump. But you know what they say, more money, more problems, right? More money, that you get, it's kind of hard to figure out where it needs to go. And there's been some conflicting stories, rumors, whatever you want to call it, that the Lions may now opt to take care of more internal guys and forego the large portion of free agency. Now, I haven't confirmed this exactly, but I am going to try to work on it this week and try to figure out, are they really going to try to extend Aleem McNeil now this season as opposed to waiting till next season? Now, I know Aleem's been talked about this year, but we'll see. I don't know if it makes sense. I think that they have to do what they have to do as a team, to get better as a team. I mean, that's the goal this year, is to get better, to upgrade. And that's what we're going to try to do tonight. We're going to take a look at the roster again. And there's some interesting things about the roster that I pulled some notes together. And I don't know how many people are going to join tonight because it's a different time. But we'll talk through a few things and then we'll get going on it. And then I am going to open up the phone lines once I get through this first portion. I do want to hear what people have to say about their free agency wishes and how they feel it fits. And go from there. So, all right, what's up to the chat? We got Lone Wolf. We got Braylon Dennis in the chat so far. Again, I know it's an odd time, but I wanted to start a little bit early so I could get done just a little bit earlier. And got a lot to cover. So here's a quick statement that I put together. When you talk about drafted players and the salary they make, where they were drafted, their production, whether it's their first year or their second year. And it's about the draft value to pick value versus salary. And it's something that I was working on. So it basically says this: where players are drafted and the salary they make, how it really doesn't mean anything when you compare that to their value on the team. For example, you took Jack Campbell at pick 18 in 2023. The Lions did. Based on his salary, right? I mean, it's reported between 3.4 and 3.7 million for last year. He would have had to have been ranked in the top 40 for linebackers in 2023 to be worth his contract value and his draft pick spent. So by the Lions, quote unquote, reaching for Jack Campbell at 18, he would have had to have been ranked higher than the top 40 linebackers in the league. I mean, you would think for a first round pick that would be easy to do, being as there's only 96 starting linebackers on average throughout the league, and he's one of the 3 or 4 depending on what kind of defense you run. So Jack ranked 77th according to PFF as a rookie, which equates to a solid backup player as, like I said, there are 96 starting linebackers across the league based on a three-man linebacker crew, right? A 4-3 system. Now, if it's a 3-4, you got four backers. But anyway, when you take into consideration the blend of schemes and fronts, I just went with three. So for him to be ranked 77th, does that mean that the Lions failed in their first year with Jack Campbell? And I can't say that they did. I really can't. I can't say that the Lions made a mistake by taking Jack Campbell just because the salary that he's being paid as a rookie doesn't equate to that salary, among the rankings of the NFL linebackers and what they were paid. It gets really convoluted, but I kind of picked up part of this in a podcast, and then I started running with it and looking at a few things. So then I looked at Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Lions took him 12th overall. And this probably would have been a great video, but the Lions took him 12th overall, which is a top 16 cap rank for running backs. So he needed to perform as a top 16 running back in the league to be worth his pick, or his pick value and contract, right? And according to PFF, he was ranked tied for 19th in the league in 2023. So he's right there, real close, right? But let's look at it a different way. He had the 17th most yards on the ground. So that's real close to that 16th. And he had the 10th most TDs scored. Second most explosive plays over 20 yards. Second to Christian McCaffrey. To me, he far exceeded his pick value in 2023. And he did it on the 28th most attempts. So out of 32 teams that have a starting running back, there was 27 other players that had more attempts than Jahmyr Gibbs. Yet he finished number 2 for explosive plays, 10th in the most TDs scored, 17th for the most yards on the ground. He was taken 12th overall. His contract was equal to the 16th ranked running back in the league, and he missed 2 games. Now, you give him those 2 games, and I bet you we're talking much different stats here, because he really started to light it up, towards the end of the season. So just a little statement about, when you guys start looking at the draft and you start looking at where guys are picked, maybe we look at it a little bit differently. At least I'm going to this year. I'm going to look at it a little bit differently. I'm not going to care that you were picked 8th overall or 5th overall or 28th overall. None of that matters to me. I want to look at how much you're being paid, and then how well did you produce. That's what should matter at the end of the day. If I'm picked you at 10 and I'm paying you as a 10, but you perform as a 5, the 5th best, I mean, you hit a home run. But then again, if you pick them at 10 and they're not even in the top 40, well, then they probably weren't worth it. You probably could have done better. Now, we'll see what happens in the second season. You know how rookie seasons go. All right, what's up, Al Torrey? Detroit Grit, how you guys doing? Hunter is my guy. Braylon Dennis says he wants Danielle Hunter in Detroit. I think a lot of us do. The biggest question is going to be, are they going to go cornerback or defensive end? So what's happening, Steve K? Nice to see you in the crowd tonight. And then just a quick recap in case you guys didn't catch it. We will do the drawing. How's the volume, by the way? Because I tried working on the volume today. Sometimes I feel like I sound like the Huge on the Huge show. Like my voice just gets real deep, and yeah, I don't like that. So just let me know how it's working. All right. So I did a roster breakdown today. Matter of fact, let me share this with you guys. Let me do that. I should have downloaded it. So I could have made a little slide or something, but let me just show you this nutty work that I do and things that I was looking at. And don't mind my spelling mistakes, because this wasn't supposed to be for you guys to see. If there are any. I don't know if there are any. All right, here we go. So I did this little roster breakdown, and here's what I was looking at. All right, we got Zach's Ion in the house. Do you think the Vikings re-sign DJ Wonham? I don't know anything about DJ Wonham, but your guess is as good as mine. Detroit Grit says D end better than corner. We won't have to have the best, on the cornerbacks if we get a great rusher. I hear you, but you know what? It's said the same way the other way. So, better the cornerbacks, the least you can get away with the defensive ends. So let's look at this little roster breakdown. So the Lions have 45 players. Yeah, we do got a spelling mistake. Under contract prior to the free agency. And I would say that 12 of them are not going to be on the 53-man roster and would not count toward the top 51 when it's all said and done, which means the Lions have roughly 33 of the top 53 on the team right now. If you were to start the season today, this is what we have. When you see like 1 for 1 or 3+5, what that means is I've got 1 starter, 1 backup, 3 starters plus 5 that may make the team, or 5 backups. The ones in the green are obviously the reserved futures. And then your top free agents are your own free agents, not the free agents that are available. No, what I'm saying, Zach, is I haven't spent any time on the Viking stuff. And DJ Wonham, no, I can't say that I pay a lot of attention to him. Tonight's about Hunter, and it's going to be about some other things that we're doing tonight. So Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker. I mean, I think that's great to start the season with. When you look at the wide receivers, you got Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams as your 1-2, Khalif Raymond, and Antoine Green. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. So they brought in Traquan Smith, who is going to have to, fight to stay on this team. Tom Kennedy, I mean, we know that we bring him in, we play with him, and then we let him go. It happens every year. I highly doubt anything changes this season. Same thing with Maurice Alexander. He seems to always end up on a practice squad or, as a camp body. And Darius Fountain, I thought that we had him on the practice squad at one point before, even before last year. The Fountain sounds real familiar, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is for the wide receivers, like, we're pretty thin. Last year we started with 6, and that was 5 plus Jamison Williams on suspension. So I have a feeling that they're going to start with 6 again. And I don't see where we won't target a wide receiver in the draft. So my draft method is changing right now. I'm thinking that the Lions are definitely in the hunt for a wide receiver in the middle rounds. And that's partially why, I did the video on Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice. I'm sure he hates being referred to as that, so my apology. But that's why I started looking at some receivers, because we were thin. But then when I looked at this today, it just got a little bit more grave in my eyes. And DPJ downfield ability, yes, he does. Steve K, great point. And I do like DPJ. I love the skill set that he brings to this team. Definitely love how he's a boundary 50-50 guy. I would just love to see the Lions go out and get a young bulldog, like this Leggett or even Brendan Rice. Evan Smoke says, I like the idea of being able to rush 4 like the San Francisco 49ers. If Hunter's pass rushing makes an opponent quarterback's release a half to 1 second earlier, everybody is better in the secondary. If I follow what you're saying there, you're saying that if we have a better pass rush, it's going to make the quarterback release the ball earlier, and that in itself makes the secondary better. What I would be saying there is I'd be a little bit worried about our secondary, and you're going to see why here in a minute. Justin G, what's happening, my friend? Demigod 313. Says he's so excited about the Lions offseason. It moved. Then the way I feel right now. What do I think about Cooper in the draft? Dude is a monster. Cooper Lejeune, are you talking about him? And I'll come back to that one on Derek. I'll come back to that one. All right, so moving on. Running backs, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, obviously we're good here, but we're going to need to have to add a third guy. Jake Funk. I mean, come on now. Jamar Jefferson, same thing like Tom Kennedy and Maurice Alexander. It seems like Jamar just kind of floats around to be a camp guy, which you're going to get. I mean, you're going to have these guys. It's just those are not guys that, are going to make the team better. Let's just put it that way. Our top free agent targets, Craig Reynolds. And I didn't, to your point there, Philly Doe, I did not separate ERFAs, RFAs, all that stuff. I just kind of lumped everything in together. Donkey Kong, what's happening? So when you look at the running backs, there's some room here. So again, I wouldn't be surprised, and I would hate that the Lions waste a draft pick on a running back. But to be honest with you, in the later rounds, you might as well take a flyer, in the 5th, 6th, 7th round if you don't take a kicker on a running back and see what he has. I would love to see Craig Reynolds come back. I think he does great, as a fill-in when needed and hopefully not needed. Let's just put it that way. Tight end is a big problem. And with tight end, you got Sam Laporta and James Mitchell. James Mitchell has not panned out. This is why I am not a big proponent of taking injured guys. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is going to be James Mitchell's 3rd season, and he's going to have to show us something. He had a lot of promise, and it just hasn't panned out. Now, last season, you really didn't need him because you had Sam Laporta. But the minute you do need him, the guy gets hurt again, and he seems like he's always hurt. So the guys that are always hurt, to me, would always be looking for a new team. That's just the shrewd business mindset that I guess you have to have. But Brad Holmes likes something about him, and he's keeping him around. So maybe it's ego. Maybe he doesn't want to let his draft picks go. Is what it is. But we have Brock Wright, Shane Zielstra, that are top free agent, in-house free agents. And I mean, Brock, I love Brock. He's always been Brock. He's getting a little up there in age, had a nasty injury. Shane Zielstra even had a worse injury. But Shane was probably going to have a nice little breakout season this last season, until he got hurt. He actually was playing pretty well, according to Dan Campbell. So I'm looking for him to add a tight end. And so right there, I mean, the first 4 positions or 3 positions after quarterback, you need somebody. So, I mean, you're going to have to pick someone up. You're not going to enter this season without a number 1 wide receiver. And what I mean by number 1 is we need someone that's like 6'3", 6'4", a little bit bigger body, bigger red zone threat, or you're going to fill that gap with a tight end, another tight end that is 6'5", 6'6", dare I say 6'7", 230 to 250, can move, can catch, a possession tight end. Yes, they need to be blockers, all of them, wide receiver or tight end. But I will tell you that Sam Laporta was not graded out as a blocker at all. And he ended up doing great. So even though they might not have the best blocking grades, expect them to get better quickly. Derek, Edrin Cooper. Gotcha. I haven't done any work on Edrin Cooper yet. I will probably this week, though. Demigod 313 says, I have some pushback with Brad signing the last free agent signing, and I'm wondering if the Lions are going to rotate defensively in the secondary. Which free agent signing are you talking about? Yeah, Donkey Kong, good point. So if he didn't look good till 2.5 seasons later, he took a minute. He did. And Brad made sure to tell everybody in the news or in the media session, that day when he came to the mic, that, nobody wanted Barnes, and he picks off, Baker Mayfield in the second playoff game. Nobody liked Iffy, but Iffy picked off Matt Stafford. I mean, come on. Sometimes it takes a minute. Demi got 3-3 says, Will, is that why you made the video about Penn State tight end Theo? Because he can stretch the field. Yes, exactly. I love Theo, and he's almost near identical to Sam Laporta. And I'm not saying he's as good, but if you go look at the stats and go watch the tape, you're going to be like, holy cow, how is this guy so far down in the rankings right now? He's just going to have to, have a really good combine. I mean, I reposted it today. I don't know how I deleted it. I don't know if I did something. Sometimes you fall asleep with the laptop and maybe I accidentally hit delete. But today I opened up my laptop and it said deleted. And I'm like, what was that? Well, I quickly found out it was Theo Johnson. He went bye-bye. So, yeah, watch Theo again. I reposted it today. All right, so next position. And it starts to get even more bleak here, man. It's insane to me what we're looking at right here. So Taylor Decker, left tackle, 1 of 1. So that means that we have a starter, but we don't really have a backup. I mean, is Connor Galvin our backup for the season? I mean, that's a big, far cry from having some really solid backups on this team. And the roster that's online did not do a real good job at pegging, Connor Galvin, Michael Nisi, Muti Natani or Muti Natan, whatever his name is, Muddy Natan, and Matt Farniak, as to where they're going to be pegged as far as positional. Subject right now, Brent, is we're talking about the rosters. So the roster was updated, had to be in the last couple of days, and we have 45 players under contract. And so that's going to kind of lead into the draft talk and how it's going to change a little bit, because as you go through some of this, you notice we have some big holes. I mean, you have holes everywhere. So we don't have a bona fide backup for Taylor Decker. If Taylor Decker goes down, what do? Penei Sewell, we don't have a backup at all. Now, maybe that's Connor Galvin, but I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. Now, of course, we want these guys to stay healthy all season, but I think that you have to take the chance and say, okay, these guys are probably going to get nicked and banged up and they're going to miss one game. Who's going in? You have to prepare, don't you? Right now, we don't have a left tackle or a right tackle backup that I feel confident in. Brad may have a different plan. Then we get to left guard. We do not have a starting left guard right now because Jonah Jackson is a free agent. And if you think that we're going to enter the season with Coyote Awosika as our starter, I think we would all be sorely mistaken. Same thing at right guard. We do not have a right guard that is a starter because Graham Glasgow is a free agent. But we have Colby Sorsdahl, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he was a 5th-round pick last season. Played terribly in the beginning of the season. He did get a little bit better, but his grades were terrible pretty much across the board. He's one of those guys that's just going to take a little bit of time, and then he'd be a really solid backup at some point. He might need a couple of seasons. Put on some weight, make sure he hits the weight room this offseason pretty hard, and I think that he'll be back and playing better in 2024, but I don't think that it's going to be starting quality better. So what does that tell us right now? We know that this draft is very heavy in the offensive line, in the rounds that the Lions have some picks. And maybe they're not early enough to where you feel like you're wasting a pick on the most unsexy pick, which is the offensive line, even though I would argue that the trenches are probably the most important, right? So I see the Lions right now going heavy offensive line. I think that we're going to pull a tackle out of this and a guard. And one or both of those guys is going to be very versatile, meaning a guard that plays center and a tackle that plays guard. It would be a perfect fit if you could make it happen. It's going to be hard. But I do believe the Lions are taking 2 offensive linemen in this draft. And I would not be surprised if they reach out and grab an offensive lineman in free agency, because we just don't have it. I mean, didn't we start last season? I probably should have grabbed last season's initial 53. But if one of you guys wants to double check me while we're doing this, I'm almost positive we started the season with 10 offensive linemen, was it? Or 9? It was a lot. Or I'm sorry, was that defensive tackles? That might have been defensive tackles. Either way, we had more than we have now. And I would say that, you're going to need at least 8, if not 9, to start the season. You've got your starting 5, and you're going to want to back up for just about everyone except for the center. Hopefully that, your guard, your right guard, or your left guard is your backup center. So got to see Graham Glasgow come back. I'm just not high on overpaying Jonah Jackson, but we'll let Brett Holmes make that decision, right? Brent says, since we have 7 picks in the draft, Brad should get 7 from free agency. Just a thought. Let's see how that shapes up when we go through the draft here. And here's some other news, and we'll get into this more too, but I also looked at the rookie contract, valuation for where the Lions are picking. And I want to say the last couple of shows, I threw out a number that it would cost about 18, 19 million to sign the rookie contracts this season. That number is wrong. It's only going to be about 10 million. Because of where the Lions are selecting, we're not selecting so high in the draft this season. The contracts are about half as much as, they used to be for us. So that's a nice little savings for the Lions right now, who roughly have about 57, according to OTC right now, 57.6 million in cap space. If you take 10 million away from that for the rookies, you've got 47 million to spend in free agency and or save for the trade deadline. So I think that's what we're looking at right now, is about 47 to 50 million before they do anything with anybody else's contracts and try to make more room. Demigod 313 says, Lions fan base love giving players a pass. Notice how on the offense, players are showing up, not playing their natural position. But on the defense, we got to hear Cam Sutton is not a cornerback 1, but a number 2. I've said that. Others have said that. And that's because he's not. I don't think he ever was supposed to be. I think that he should be on the left side as number 2. And I would love to see a true number 1 corner with man press ability come in and lock it down in 2024. I would really hope that happens. I don't think that we're going to be able to float another season with Cam Sutton as our top corner and try to have success. All right, so lastly on the offense, Frank Ragnow is a one-of-one man. It's very rare that you ever do have a backup for a center. You're hoping, again, that somebody, offensive guard or tackle will fill in nicely. So here's what we got. This is what I'm telling you that we have, for my opinion. Out of this whole mix, we have 10 starters on the roster right now on offense. We have no starting guards. We have 3 starting wide receivers. We have no backup O-line worth a damn. And we definitely don't have anybody to help out if Frank Ragnow goes down. And I'm willing to bet, it happens every season. It seems like that Frank Ragnow, he does go down for at least a game. Or it's a real tough call if he is going to come back, and not miss a game. So what are you guys thinking then right away? 10 starters on the offense out of 45 players under contract right now. And that's definitely not enough backups. Total you have, let's see, 8, 10, 13, 15, 17, 18, 20, 23 offensive players under contract. So just about half of what's signed right now. And out of 23, 10 of them are starters. And probably half of them that are not starters are not going to end up on this team, or they're going to end up on the practice squad. Maybe. Demigod says, are we going to sit here and act like the wide receivers today aren't playing like a number 1 on almost every team? Bengals, for example, do you trust Cam Sutton on any of those wide receivers? No. I don't trust Cam Sutton on any wide receiver, to be honest with you, after this last season. But I guess we have to look at his backup too, though. I mean, who else did Cam Sutton really have? Outside of Brian Branch, I mean, the safeties, I think that they're liable too. They didn't have or give Cam Sutton the best coverage. And I don't want to get too lost or off track on it because I want to go through this, but I didn't see where our safeties were giving Cam Sutton the help that he also needed. I mean, Justin Jefferson, I mean, come on. He's going to do Justin Jefferson things. So unless AG is willing to bend from his defense and do something different, he's going to struggle every year. He really is. Lone Wolf says, you're right. I can see the Lions drafting at least 2 offensive linemen. The Ronin 99 says, sign 1, draft 1 at cornerback, defensive line, and does that say a P for punter? Does that really say a P? Am I missing something? Anyway, all right, so let's move on to the defense here. And Cam Sutton is first on the list. Go figure, demigod. So 1 of 0. We do not have a backup behind Sutton. You can't even say that it's Stephen Gilmore because right now Stephen Gilmore is our starting left corner. And then you have Craig James behind him. And I made the joke the other day of like, I didn't know Craig James played football. I thought he was just a meteorologist. Forget what news station that was, but I remember Craig James growing up. So right now we've got, a couple big holes right here on the defense. Big time. We don't have any backups for Cam, and we don't have a starting left corner. Or should I say we don't have a starting right corner, and Cam should slide down to, number 2. In my opinion, top free agents, Jerry Jacobs, Emmanuel Mosley. If they even think for 1 second of entertaining bringing Mosley back, I'm probably going to go on a rant for 2 weeks straight. You just don't bring those kind of guys back that, busted up ACLs, 2 seasons in a row. I mean, I get it. You're supposed to come back healthier from an ACL. And now you've had both of them repaired. What's the likelihood of it happening again, right? Yeah, I'm good. I wouldn't even take that chance. Xavier Howard, yeah, I had him on my list the other day on the show. He is someone that is intriguing. The other one that you really need to look at too is Steven Nelson from the Houston Texans. I also did a video on him. Pretty good matchups in comparables to what the Lions are looking for, in my opinion. You guys can make your own opinion, right? So cornerbacks, Khalil Dorsey, I wouldn't mind seeing him come back. Chase Lucas, look, I haven't seen anything out of him, but a few times that he has played, I mean, he does okay. He's got, he's a talker. He's an energy guy. He's got an infectious attitude, plays special teams well. So I think you bring Khalil Dorsey and Chase Lucas back. I'm not so sure on Kindle Vildor. I mean, I hate to see that, Vildor, got crucified by everybody because of that one, big pass in the NFC title game. I mean, there was a lot that went wrong on that play and a lot that, was extremely lucky for Brandon Ayuk to be able to come down with that. I don't know. I think that you kind of give him another shot if the contract's right. And you just see what happens throughout camp. But I don't know if Jerry Jacobs can resurrect his career at this point. And Ronan 99, I completely agree with you. I'm all about cornerbacks, especially your number ones, right? They have to be, over 6 foot, 6'1". It's 6'1.5", 6'2" even. Rangy, long arms, strong, fast. But I would give up some speed for intelligence all day. What is this about the DLP podcast? Did mention about the extension for St. Brown, McNeil, and maybe Goff, or maybe not. And also Sewell extension as well. What do you mean by that? So we've been talking, Mike P, we've been talking about the extensions for a while, probably, 2 months now. And it really ramped up since the, end of the NFC title game. But Goff was expecting to have an extension no matter what happened this year. Or he was going to be more than likely traded or released or something. I don't believe he had a ton of guaranteed money left in his contract in 2024. Matter of fact, I think it's zero. But as far as the other ones, I mean, Aleem McNeil is due next year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is due next year as well. So you might as well get it done this year and not let them play, their last year on, a deal like that. I don't know. See, I'm not in the boat of re-signing Aleem McNeil to an extension right now. I would rather draft and find somebody in free agency and see how well they play. Aleem is great. I don't think he's elite. And if you're gonna pay Aleem right now, the OTC valuation was like $9 million, and there's no way that can be accurate. The going rate for a DT is closer to 16 to 24. I don't see Aleem only to get 9 million. If it was only 9 million, do it all day. Absolutely. All right, we'll keep going here. So safeties, we've only got Kirby Joseph as our free safety. Ifeatu Melifonwu is our strong safety with Brandon Joseph, who's hung around for a couple of seasons, in a reserve futures contract. And then we've got Brian Branch as our DB, and I put him in the DB class because, he can play safety, but he's primarily nickel back. But DB is just really how I call it. CJ Gardner-Johnson is our top free agent. Will Harris, I think, is going to, beat the street with his feet. I don't think that he's coming back anywhere near Allen Park. Could be wrong. You know how Brad Holmes is about some of these guys. So we're in a big hole here. And again, I think I need to say it that this draft shapes up nicely in the middle rounds for safeties and quality safeties. But now I've mentioned the middle round how many times for the needs that we have or need. Too many. We only have so many picks in the middle rounds. And we don't have a 4th round pick this year, I don't think. Matter of fact, I know we don't. We don't have a 4th rounder again this year. So, CJ the DJ, you'd be the first one to say that my sound is bad. Is anyone else saying that my sound is bad right now? You must have just started the show. All right. So, in my opinion here, I mean, we're in trouble. We need a safety. Right now, we're rolling with 3, and we do not have a starting left guard or starting left corner. And quite honestly, Cam Sutton should be that starting left corner, in my opinion. I know some of you guys disagree. Demigod says McNeil needs to make people look at the defensive line and say he needs help. He's just a little bit more consistent, but can be taken out one-on-one sometimes. Yeah, he's a little bit small for me. Just my opinion, but, defensive tackles, man, I like my guys, 6'2", 6'3", minimum. Bigger guys, longer arms. You need to have that long length to get underneath those guards and tackles. And that's how you push them back. If you don't have the length, how are you going to get off the blocks? So that's why I like to see the guys, a little bit bigger. He's a dog. Don't get me wrong. And I know what you're going to say. Well, what about, Aaron Donald? Well, I mean, Aaron Donald's just one of those, freak of nature type of athletes. That's not Aleem. Aleem can be the same size, but they're 2 totally different planets when it comes to players. So do we add a safety? That's the question, Ronan 999. I believe we do. And I believe we're probably going to have to grab one not only in the draft, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes looks at a safety in free agency because there's a couple and they're not terribly expensive. But then you get into this, this question of, how much can you stretch? Basically $48 million, we'll call it, because 10 million is put away for the rookies. How can you stretch $48 million between Jared Goff, extension, $45 million a year, Amon-Ra St. Brown, extension, $22 million a year. I know he's rated somewhere around $26 million. And here, I think I wrote some down here. Penei Sewell, roughly $22 million a year ish. And then you've got Aleem McNeil. OTC has him at $9 million. There's no way you're going to be able to float all of that in a couple of seasons. I understand the first year you can because you can keep everything nice and low. But what about the next 3 or 4 years? And what happens when all the void years come due? You're going to be looking like the Miami Dolphins right now or the Saints right now, upside down in the cap in a big way. Yeah, I don't watch the Wings anymore, Detroit Grit. I kind of gave up on them after a while, man. 26 or 27 seasons of watching them win was good enough for me. And then they lost like every season since. I just I quit watching. Maybe next year I'll jump in the bandwagon again. So Mizik TJ says, I would love to have Danielle Hunter. If Brad can get him, then by all means do it. And your sound has been bad for a while. I always have to crank it up. So bad how? My sound's usually great. I can turn up the volume a little bit. I just don't want it to get distorted. Maybe check your volume settings. When I listen to it back on my phone, it's way too loud sometimes. All right, I'll make a couple of quick adjustments here. Got to please the masses, right? Here we go. We'll drop these a few. All right, let me know if that helped. And we'll take the compressor down just a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't get distorted. Okay, so back to this. Now we move on from safeties. We know that we need to bring one in. I mean, we have our starters. We need a solid backup. And quite honestly, in some of the bigger packages, your dime packages, your sub, nickel packages, you're going to need more safeties. So right now you're looking at 2-3 safeties coming aboard. I want to say last year it was either 5 or 6 safeties that we started the season with. And then same thing for cornerbacks. I mean, you're looking at 4 cornerbacks to join this team right now that are going to have to make the roster. Oh, I got you. Yeah, I've had plenty of videos where I've had some bad sound. Past couple weeks, there's been weird stuff going on. Someone said something about solar flares causing problems, but I don't know. Technology, man. You got to love it. I do the best I can. So then we'll move on to linebacker, right? We're looking at Alex Anzalone. Inside, outside, I kind of have him all over the place. He kind of plays all the positions, but we know that, he's a staple. So we'll just say he's playing on the right side of the defense. Jack is in the middle. Derek Barnes is on the left. Malcolm Rodriguez kind of got thrown into a situation where he came in as a starter, but I don't think it was their intent to ever leave him as a starter back in 2022. They brought in Jack Campbell. Malcolm Rodriguez, was pushed down to, a secondary option for the defense, but he still plays great. I mean, the guy's a thumper. He's a great tackler, super smart. I'm glad he's on this team. A little bit small when it comes to linebackers, but he plays big. So we've got 4 linebackers right now. Jalen Reeves-Maben, I hope he comes back because he's a special teams ace. He does really well. And Anthony Pittman, I mean, he's a camp body at this point. So here we are again. Alex Anzalone is entering the second year of his deal, 3-year deal. Derek Barnes, I believe, is in the last year of his deal. So are the Lions going to add another linebacker this draft? This draft is kind of shaping up to give us an option at a linebacker at pick 29, which is not too late to grab a linebacker or too early in this draft. I would just hope that they don't take a linebacker over a, high quality, corner or defensive tackle, at 29. I don't see a defensive end really being there as a viable option. We'll see. All right. So lastly, we'll talk about the ends and defensive tackles. So here we're kind of thin again. You got Josh Paschal, John Kaminsky on the right side, Aiden Hutchinson on the left. Now we got Mathieu Betts who I think has a great shot at making this roster. And if he does, and he ends up being the player that we've seen on tape, then I would say that he's probably going to play off the right side where he typically was playing. At least in the videos, in the highlights that I did, he was on the right side. So if he's on the right and Aiden's on the left, you have John Kaminsky, Josh Paschal, Matthew Betts, Aiden Hutchinson. You're looking pretty good on the ends, but I mean, do you need one more dog? That's the question, because our ends were pretty suspect last year and we had all of the same players. And quite honestly, James Houston being a free agent, I would love to see him come back. Charles Harris, Romeo Okwara, not so high on. Now, Romeo actually had one of the better grades, believe it or not, out of the defensive ends. He didn't have as many snaps, though. He had less than 300, I believe, but he had some of the better grades on the team. So there's an argument there. And I felt early off in the offseason that he comes back as a camp body on a decent contract. But, in this game and free agency, they're going to look to get paid anywhere they can. His brother's already gotten picked up. As soon as free agency hits, Romeo's probably going to try to find himself a deal somewhere. Lone Wolf says, do you think that we will have a dollar store free agency? I don't think so. I think that, I guess you have to tell me what you consider dollar store. Like if Brad Holmes is out and spending second tier money, on second tier guys, I believe that we'll be just fine. And I don't consider second tier money dollar store, like, 7 million a year, 8 million, 9 million. That's pretty big money. Second tier players are pretty solid. I mean, you have to have your depth. Your depth is just as good as your starters, because if your starters go down, you're only as good as your depth. And if your depth can't play at the level that you were playing or even close to it, you're going to lose a lot of games. So you have to be able to put guys in and take guys out, get them rest, and continue the flow of the game. So I'd say that the Lions are definitely looking for an end, but I think it gets a little bit more bleak when you talk about the defensive tackles. And this is why I've been so high on defensive tackles, because right now we have a Lee McNeil. We have 1 for 3, right? We got 1 starter and 3 backups. But one of those backups, Chris Smith, is just on a reserve futures. So more than likely, camp body won't make the team. Levi Onwazurike has back issues. And Broderick Martin, we don't know what he is yet. But let's just say Broderick, really excels this offseason, has a great camp, comes in light and fit, ready to, terrorize offenses. Is he really going to be what the Lions settle for next to Aleem? I don't think that the answer is yes. I really don't. So I think that the Lions are definitely going to be looking for a defensive tackle in this draft and potentially in free agency. There's a few good, defensive tackles that'll be available in free agency. I'll highlight some of those, this week as we get going. But right now, I see 11 starters, with starting quality under contract. We got no backup cornerbacks, no starting cornerback 2, or in my opinion, a CB1. We're short on linebackers. We need an upgrade at DT next to Aleem. So we paint ourselves into boxes all the time, right? We paint ourselves into boxes all the time. Well, we only need this player. We only need that player. We just need, like I said, 2 positions on defense, which we really do need to target 2 top tier guys on defense if possible. But when you look at the overall roster, and I'll show you what I was looking at earlier. I think I still have it pulled up. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. So right now you see up here where it says active roster, 45. We have 45 guys under contract, and that's who we just went through. And we're going to go through the roster tonight and do another look through it. You know, who can we bring in? How much is it going to cost? And that's where DANIELLE Hunter is going to be high on our list tonight to bring in and get him signed. I would love to see that, you know, the Lions can, you know, get something like this done. Here's another look at what we have so far for, you know, the roster and the backups and how it's listed. So on offense, you have Jameson Williams, Antoine Green as his backup. And on the other side, you had Josh Reynolds and Donovan Peoples-Jones. So we're missing a wide receiver. Ezra Cleveland, Lone Wolf, I have not looked anything up on him yet. You guys throw out some great names. And then for our third receiver, St. Brown, obviously slot, and Khalif Raymond. So we are missing right now what I consider to be the X receiver, because I don't know if Jameson Williams is going to fit in that boat yet. He's definitely not tall enough. He has the speed, and he started to break it open a little bit last year, but I just don't see him. Is it really blurry? I don't know if that's me, buddy. I don't know if he's going to develop into the X. Left tackle, like I said, Taylor Decker. We had Dan Skipper behind him. Jonah Jackson, left guard, he's gone, at least for now. And we have Coyote Awosika backing him up. Frank Ragnow at center. Graham Glasgow was our guy. I mean, he was playing everything. He played right guard, left guard, and center last year. So right guard, you got Halabluti Vaitai. I just can't see them bringing him back. I mean, all the back issues, you know, restructured, renegotiated his contract. I think it's time that, you know, we wave bye to Vaitai and we bring somebody else in. But that's not Kobe Sorsdahl, in my opinion. He's not ready. Penei Sewell, I mean, he's just been a stud his whole life, especially in the NFL. But then you got Matt Nelson, who never came back off of injury last year. So big question mark right there. And then I threw Ferksker in over here. I just threw him in there because I would have had to have done something different with the screen. But he's part of the tight end group there. So we got Sam Laporta and James Mitchell. That's it. And I know we just went through all this, but I'm just kind of showing you again. Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker, Nate Sudfeld. I mean, I can't imagine on any green earth that he's coming back. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Hopefully we get Craig Reynolds back. It'd be nice to see what Zonovan Knight could do. He had a pretty rough injury last year. Again, you know, when you just go through all of this, you can pretty much go through and look at this list, and you can start pulling out all the orange, and that's where you're going to have to find players. And then you look at all the black, and those are the players that you have rights to. So we've got some issues. We got some holes. All right, let's see. What do we got next here? Let's do some salary cap calculator. Let me get it pulled up. All right, first and foremost, let me share this on the screen. That's the wrong one. All right, that's our calculator. Let me see if that's the right one. That's the wrong one, too. And I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. I was trying to pull up DANIELLE Hunter's. 1 second here. All right. So Demigod says, I don't think Craig Reynolds is going to come back. I don't know, because it seems like he only plays 6 games a year. C. Klaus says, get Vitae, Charles Harris, Will Harris, Alquara all out of here. Hey, if I could make that decision, I think I'd side with you too. Freddie Y says, I'm not paying $25 million for Burns, who doesn't even play the run very well. I'm glad you see it. I've never been high on Burns. I think he'll be grossly overpaid for what he does. But today I pulled up Danielle Hunter, okay? And I was shocked to see this. There's no way this can be accurate. You're going to tell me that Danielle Hunter right now is going to be worth somewhere in the market value of 3 years for $60 million. You guys see this right here? 3 years, $60.1 million current market value. Now, here's the big knock on Danielle. He is 29 and a half years old. So by the time he signs his next contract and gets through this season, he's going to be pushing 30. Are you willing to spend $20 million a year on Danielle Hunter for the next 3 seasons? Because I think that's what it's going to take. He wants one more contract to finish out his career. Anybody? All right. Donkey Kong says that's exactly why Hunter will not be in Detroit. Freddie Wise says Danico Autry on a 2-year deal, $8 million per, will be more effective than Burns. Good call. See, that's the second tier options. You know, I love having these second tier guys. You can pair them up. You know, you get 2 of them, 3 of them, and you try to get the same production out of one big expensive guy. And then Donovan Amos, he says, I saw that too, but do you spend that much on one guy when we need depth on the defensive line as well? So I think you guys are understanding where I'm going with this. And Reggie White, I can't believe Brent just mentioned his name. That guy, I mean, you talk about rare air. I mean, that guy was breathing up on, Mount Everest. He still holds the sack title. I want to say that J.J. Watt was thinking about coming back to play again just to try to break that record. So why is Danielle Hunter on the thumbnail? Here's why. There's been a lot of talk about Danielle Hunter. Bring him to the team, pay him, get him on the team. And I like him. I do. I would love to have him on the team. I would. But the fact that he's pushing 30 and that he's going to cost no less than $20 million a year, he's probably going to want a final contract. So you're looking at 3 to 4 years, no less than 3, $60 million. You could add a couple of void years into that. Okay. So in 3 seasons, you're going to have all of that come due. So even in the first season, let's say that, we only pay him 15 million or 10 million, as a cap hit. Well, that means the next year you're going to have to almost double what you were going to pay him. So if you were going to pay him 20 and you only paid him 10, that means the next year he's probably going to get paid 25, 27. And then in that third year, it's like 35. It gets crazy. And that's how you get yourself in cap purgatory. Now, Danielle Hunter, the player, I would love to have him on this team. I just don't know if it makes sense. And that's why I wanted to go through the players that we have on, on the roster now that are under contract, all 45 of them. We have 23 out of 45 that are starting quality. That's pretty good. But that means we need a ton of depth and we need a few more starters on both sides of the ball. So how do we do it? Brent says, but how many jerseys will he sell? I'm sure he'll sell a ton. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Steve K's. What does Steve K say? Says Epinesa or Van Ginkel would be better. So Epinesa's my guy, man. I really like Epinesa. Van Ginkel, I heard, is going to be getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 million a year. That I don't know I could do on Van Ginkel. I think that's just a little too much. Freddie Wise says Pascal still has a real chance to be something. He does. We got to give him some credit too. He's battled some injuries, cancer survivor. So yeah, I mean, he deserves a fair shot. I'm not unsold on Pascal. I think that he's just developing still, and this is going to have to be a breakout season for him. I mean, it really needs to be. This is going to be the season that he's going to have a little bit more playing time, especially if Charles Harris, doesn't come back to the team. You already got rid of one Aquara, and if the other Aquara doesn't come back, he's kind of the next man up. It's like he's got the higher, on the hierarchy pole, he's got more seniority now. So Pascal's going to have to kind of, or get off the pot. So let's pull in the roster calculator. And then these take a minute. So you guys just got to bear with me when we do this because there's sometimes a lot of dead silence. Does anybody want to call in? Do I need to open up the phone lines right now before I go any further? Because it's 9:00 now. If anybody would like to call in, I'll open up the phone lines in just a moment. The Ronin99 says he wants to call in. All right, let me get my phone set up. All right, you guys know how it works. So I'm going to put the number in the chat. And by the way, you guys know that we have to do the giveaway again tonight. I'm going to take this call from Ronin, and I'm going to say we'll do the giveaway at 9:30. That way you guys aren't waiting here all night. I'll do it at 9:30, and it's going to be the same as it was last night. So it's going to be a number based on, we got almost 100 people watching, at least on my end right now. So I'm going to randomize it. And then whatever number pops up, that's going to be the number in the live chat replays, the number comment. So, or chat, whatever you want to call it. So literally I'm going to count down from the first one all the way to whatever number it is. And that's how we're going to do it, I guess. Or I guess I could probably look and see how many messages there are in the live chat. And we could do it that way too. Right now we have, if it would tell me, I know there's a way to get the number. Now we'll just stick to the original plan. How about that? All right, here's the number. If you want to call in, it is in the chat. All right, 313-312-0348. So Andrew Jackson, I broke 4,000 subscribers the other day, and largely due to everybody that's watching right now because of you and because of all the help and all the times that you guys watch and share and like and send these, on to your friends and family and other Lions fans. That's why. And so I like to do something nice at least every 1,000. During the springtime, man, I was giving stuff away when I had 50 followers. That's just who I am. So, all right, we got our first caller in. Give me just one moment. I'll be right back. All right, so we have Ron on the line. Can you guys hear an echo before we go any further, Ron?
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, let's try it.
You got me okay?
I think so. I think we're all right. For some reason, I have an echo, and you guys let me know if you hear an echo, then we're gonna have to try again.
Okay. It could be coming off of my speakerphone.
Oh.
I think, yeah. So
Do you have speakerphone turned off?
we're good now. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. I saw someone posted that for the price of Hunter, you could have Van Ginkel, Autry, and someone else. And it's a question of, do you flood the spots that we need with second tier, even third tier talent, or do you go for broke? I keep thinking that we have to sign one defensive lineman, be it interior defensive tackle or edge. And then we have to do the same thing at the cornerback spot. But that's where I think you can come back and then double up in the draft on a good, solid at the defensive lineman position, as well as a cornerback. There are some decent cornerbacks all over this draft, even late round guys like Rashad Williams out of Texas Tech, Kyrie Jackson out of Notre Dame, both tall, 6'2", 6'3" corners, which is what I think everyone's clamoring for, that we need some press man option. And I think the reason why you double up as much as you can in these particular spots, like even if it's at the offensive line, you get some guys who have some versatility, and that we have to be able to go at least a solid two deep in terms of our starters, or in terms of our players. Sutton gets pushed over to the two, and maybe he becomes the third cornerback. But point being, we have money now. The window is the next 2 years. Let's spend it wisely.
I agree. And we still have an echo. So if that's your final point, I'm going to answer it offline.
Okay.
Is it or no?
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome, Ron. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. So I apologize about the echo. That's the first time I've ever heard an echo. But you know how it goes. Brand new chords, and they're bringing brand new problems. So to recap what Ron was saying is, we have the money now. Do you go all in now, right? And you spend that kind of money getting somebody that's like the sure bet, or you spread the money around to fill in, with second and third tier guys. And if Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but you also mentioned that there was, some later round opportunity, even to get a good, shutdown corner, what I call a shutdown corner. I use it really loosely. We need a much better corner. Let's put it that way. Here's my response to it. I think it's twofold. I think that if you can get all the deals done with Jared Goff and, everybody else that needs to get extended, and you sit at or near the same cap value that you have right now, which is about 48 million after rookies, you go all in. And you go all in and you find that guy, like a Danielle Hunter, like Jalen Johnson, who I really do believe they're going to go target a Jalen Johnson, a Snead, somebody like that. Kendall Fuller's not as high on my list, but he's still pretty darn good. So I guess to answer the question, it would be, I want to see the depth get that much better. Like, we just went through all the depth, and all I see are big holes. And we can't have that year over year over year. But what you can replace year over year over year is, a 1 year prove it guy, or a 1 year, high price free agent that you pick up, that's only going to give you a year. But that might be all you need to get over the hump if your depth is really sound, if that makes any sense. I don't know who's calling in right now, but you have to give me just a second. I got to try to fix the echo. 1 second. Give me 1 second here. I got to try to fix this echo. Yeah, 1 second there, 9 drinks. If that was you calling in, just give me 1 second. All right. Phone line should be good now. I'm going to go back to the old trusty cable since we don't have a guest on. We don't have to worry about the extra microphone. So phone line's back open. Go ahead and call back if you like. So anyway, I guess to Ron's point is, is this the time where you go all in or not? And I think it really depends on what happens with all of the extensions. There has to be the right amount of money to be able to go and target that high price free agent. So I would love to say that they're going to be able to do it, but getting back to this whole thing about Danielle Hunter, let's see if we can make it work. And I'm going to pull this in on the screen now. Let's see if we can make this work and get some contracts done tonight. And I think it'll give us our answer, maybe. All right, here we go.
Line, I wouldn't go get no big name free agent because I'm thinking like, what if the guy get injured? Like I would rather go get AJ Epinesa with Bryce Huff, Andrew Van Ginkel. You can get three. You can get all three of them for like the price of Danielle Hunter, and I'd rather get them. So just in case somebody get injured, we can plug them in. And we just need somebody who can help Hutch. We don't need like no. You feel me? We don't necessarily gotta have Danielle Hunter to get better. So I would just get Bryce Huff, AJ Epinesa for the cheap. And as far as cornerback, if L'Jarius Sneed is out there, I'll try to get cornerback. I'll try to get L'Jarius Sneed. If I'm gonna spend big money on the free agent, I'll spend it on quarterback, and I also draft a cornerback in the first round, and I would try to get another wide receiver, like a real wide receiver 3 in the draft. Like I'll get a cornerback in the draft in the first round. Then the second round you go wide receiver. Then the third round you go edge rusher. Then our second pick in the third round you'll go offensive line. And just do it like that.
So I hear you, and I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. So everybody, this is Donovan on the line with Rock Down Detroit Lions. And I got to tell you, man, I don't know how many of the shows you've watched, but AJ Epinesa was one of my first guys that I targeted this offseason. And I really like what he brings to the table. And I see that the Buffalo Bills, they're in some trouble. And from what I read the other day, AJ Epinesa is going to test free agency, so he's going to be available. And you also mentioned Bryce Huff, and that name has been floating around a little bit too. So if you were to combine those two together, that's about
22.5 sacks combined.
Right.
22.5 sacks combined between all of them.
And it's only about 16 to 18 million a year for both of them on the high end. And then if you look at a Jalen Johnson, L'Jarius Sneed, or Kendall Fuller, you can lock, any one of those guys up for between 16 and 18, 19 million a season. And if I think what you're saying is that you would rather target a top end corner versus a top end defensive end or defensive tackle.
Yep.
Okay.
If I'm going to spend big money in free agency, then I'll go cornerback.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that we need a defensive tackle that is much better than Lee McNeil and much better than Well, maybe not much better than Ali McNeil, but much better than Broderick Martin, because that if we don't get a defensive end that is as good as Hutchinson or better, then and we don't have a defensive tackle that's as good or better than Ali McNeil, that whole right side of the defense is kind of in trouble. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you can just get some guys you can plug in and get some upgrades. That's get something better than what you already got.
I love
That's
it,
what I'll
man.
do.
I love it. So I agree with you, man. You want to get some upgrades and make the defensive line better overall, and you think that that'll be able to help Aiden Hutchinson if we add a better cornerback that can, stick to the number one wide receivers a little bit longer to allow Aiden Hutchinson to work a little bit quicker.
I say that to say because good cornerbacks is harder to find than defensive line people and all that. But yeah, I wouldn't. I stick to our roots. We haven't really, spent big on no free agent or nothing like that. So
Right. Well, I agree with you, man, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in tonight and watching Rock Down Detroit Lions. Stick around for the giveaway. We're going to be giving a Barry Sanders statue away tonight, and the Blenders blue glasses that I picked up the other day. And Donovan, thank you for calling tonight, man. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, take care. So I think we've got two opposing opinions tonight. We have one is go all in. The other is let's just get some upgrades. So I want to know what the next caller thinks. But before I take that next call, let's see if we can get something done on this contract real quick. We know that this takes a minute, so I'm going to keep working it in between calls. So we're going to extend Jared Goff. And I think that he's going to get a 3-year deal. Okay. Now I'm just going to do flat dollars. I'm not going to try to get crazy with it because it takes forever to do this. But if we extend Jared Goff, and we give him a signing bonus based on what I've seen over the last couple of seasons, if we extend him, let's call it $47.5 million a year times 3 years, that's $142.5 million, plus his base salary of $22.3 million is $164.8. He's already got a prorated bonus of $5 million this year. Let's see, 47.5 times 3. We're going to give him 50% guaranteed. That's 71.25. We're going to give him a signing bonus of $50 million. A big number, but it's fairly close to what's been going on out there. So that automatically gives him a $17.5 million prorated bonus number in his first year. So that's where things can get really, really tight in a hurry. And again, I'm just going to take all of these numbers and combine it together and just go even with it. So 142.5 plus 22, we'll just call it 0.5 just to go round numbers. So 41.25. Oops. We need a void year in here. I don't think it'll let me put 2 in, but I guess it did. Look at that. See all the dead air, man. That's the one thing I don't like about it. Give me just a second while we work it up. I was trying to have all these numbers done before. I wish I would have. 45, 55, 60, 70 million. There we go. All right. So I think that takes care of the guaranteed money. I'm not too worried about the bonuses. We're just going to throw $1 million in every year. Oh, no, it just booted me out. All right. Well, that's not cool. All that work for nothing. All right, let's try it again. Okay. Where were we here? $50 million signing bonus. And if somebody else would like to call in, they can call in and start giving us their takes while I'm going through this. It'll help pass the time. $20, $35, $45, $50. I normally wouldn't give somebody a bunch of guaranteed money in their last year, but that's just the way it's going to work out. So let's give him a low base salary of 10 million his first year to try to keep his cap number similar to what it would have been already, right? But you know, the next year you're going to have to pretty much double it. All right, does this get us close? We got 70. It's 45. It's 125. Plus the bonus. All right, I think we're good here. I think we're pretty close. So Detroit Grit says with the new cap, players are going to ask for more. You know, I heard that on another podcast today that someone had thought the same thing, that with the new cap, players are going to get paid more or whatever. Interesting point to that is they did not agree. And is the cap going to continue to jump at the rate that it is this year? And they said no. So I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think that they can ask for more, but at the same time, there's only so much money to go around, and they know that. And at some point they're just going to get cut, or they just won't get a deal. All right. So we got Jared Goff done. Let's move on down to Penei Sewell. And again, he's going to get 4 years. Let's see if we can add 2 void years. He's probably going to get somewhere around 22. We'll just go 23 million. Probably give him a signing bonus of, let's go 35 million. Sheila's going to have to come out of pocket with the checkbook. Now, we could probably keep his base salary pretty low. Let's just say we give him I don't know what his base salary is this year, but let's say we give him, 7.5. Oops. All right. So if we're going to give him 23. Yeah, his number's going to jump up big time. So that's where I see things starting to hurt is when you get into these third and fourth years. If you try to kick the can a little bit, you get into these third and fourth years, and when Goff's contract overlaps and Penei Sewell's contract overlaps and Amon-Ra's St. Brown contracts overlaps. Now the thing about this is I really need to go in and like dissect this and try to make them offset. Like Amon-Ra gets paid this year, Penei gets paid this year, and then you flip flop. You know what I mean? As far as the guaranteed money and their overall base salaries. I mean, that's how you play the roster roulette. Obviously, I'm not doing that right now. I'm just trying to throw in some numbers to see, what realistically could happen if you did it this way and then you escalated it. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to see is there enough money to sign these guys, to sign some of these big free agents? So if he was to get, basically 4 times 23 is 92 million, and about half of that guaranteed, 30, 40, 47. So he's got all of his guaranteed money. He doesn't need any more. All right, who's next? I think I need to put this on a bigger screen. All right, so you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Something tells me Amon-Ra is only going to get a 3-year deal, but should we do 3-year? We do a 4-year. Three-year? All right, 3-year it is. So he's expected to get at least 22 million. He's quoted as high as getting 26 million. So let's just go 3 years, $65 million. No, we'll do 70 over 3. That's 23.3 mil. He'll probably get about $35 million guaranteed, I would assume. Probably get a signing bonus of probably 15 mil, maybe more. But We'll toss in 2 void years because you know they're gonna have to. Now we'll do 20 million. All right. So first year, let's just say he gets 10 million. Second year, he gets 20 million. So I'm trying to offset Panay. And he'll get fully guaranteed 10. Full guaranteed 20. No, we'll go 15. And then we'll come back down to 15 million. And up to 20. 20, 35, 45. No guaranteed money in his last year. All right, so what do you got? 34 plus 20 plus 25 plus 15. It's 94 million. So it's a little high. All right, I think we're close. We'll give him an extra bump of 5 million last year. I think those numbers are really close. All right, so now we're going to look and see what we got. Look at that. So if we paid Jared Goff 30 million cap dollars this year, none of these other numbers matter. It's just the cap number. If we pay Penei Sewell almost 20 million and Amon-Ra St. Brown, just over 15 million, which I think those are pretty realistic numbers to a cap number on an extension. You could make the cap number fairly low, but it's still high enough to where, it makes sense for the player. You've got some void years kicked in. The problem is, when you look at the liabilities here in 24, 25, and 27, or I'm sorry, 25, 26, 27, your cap space just went way down in 2025 because of the liabilities that you have. So we're losing a lot in 2025, but we still got plenty of money, but we're not going to have, a lot of players signed at that point. So bring Huff, his 25-year-old, and what? Mike P. What did that say? All right, so who do we want to add first? Let's bring in a player that we want to add to this team. And I got to make this a little bit bigger so I can actually see it. Who do we want to add for a free agent? Bryce Huff? AJ Epinesa? What's the first one? Yeah, you're right. Detroit grit. So yeah, next year you've got Aiden Hutchinson to do. And you still have a Lee McNeil more than likely. So you know what? Let's do a Lee McNeil this year. The problem is actually I'm not gonna do a Lee McNeil because his number is so far off. Maybe they'll get it done this year, but even if they did, let's just say that there's another 10 million that comes off the cap. Well, we need 10 million to sign rookies, so we've got $26 million to play with right now before any other cap considerations happen with other players doing things with their contracts. Could you do anything with Taylor Decker? Maybe. Does it make sense? Maybe not. There's really not a lot of big contracts in here. And you still have a lot of players. So let's go Epinesa. I seen someone say Epinesa. You don't want Epinesa. Why don't you want Epinesa? Yeah, Freddie, we wouldn't re-sign Aiden Hutchinson right now. And Aleem could be extended right now. He could, absolutely. But we don't know his number. All right, we're going to bring in AJ Epinesa. Let's just say he gets a 3-year deal, because I don't expect him to get much more than that. We'll add in 2 void years, and I don't know that they're all going to let you, add in all these void years, but he's worth, let's call it $8 million a year, and give him an $8 million signing bonus. Base salary, let's call it $3.5 million. 500K to make the roster. 3.5 guaranteed. Next year we'll go 5.5. And no, actually, we'll go 6.5. 500K to make the roster. If you were to guarantee, $8 million in signing bonuses fully guaranteed. So he really doesn't need any more guaranteed money after that. And so you could convert a lot of his salary to bonus money and spread it out over 5 seasons. That's the prorated bonus versus, a bunch of base salary. So, I got 3 years. You call it 8 million a year. It's 24 mil. I need another 4.5 million in here. All right, so that would be, I think that would be pretty fair. Hunter will be in Chicago. I hope not there, MP. Must be a Bear fan. Welcome in. And yeah, our O-line is getting old. I think our O-line's pretty solid. So by adding AJ Epinesa this season, giving him an $8 million signing bonus, roughly $8 million a season, we just only took about, $5 million off the cap. So now let's add in Sneed. Everyone's talking about Sneed. So let's bring in Sneed. Now let's look up what L'Jarius Sneed is worth real quick. According to, we know that the projected franchise tag is about 18.8 million. And according to Spotrac, as soon as it loads, his market value compared against Jalen Ramsey, Carlton Davis, and Charvarius Ward and Jamel Dean, based on the age that they signed, 16.3 million. 16.3 million. 4-year deal, 65.3. Average salary, 16.3. So we'll do 4 years. We'll do 65 million. How's that? More void years, man. That 4th year is going to suck. That's when everything is going to come to a head. The one thing I want to look at is a recent contract. All right, so Jair Alexander at age 27, he signed a $84 million contract, average of 21 million a year. Total guaranteed was 30. So right around 30%. So that means that he'll get about 20 million guaranteed. So we'll do $10 million signing. No, I want to do more of a signing because that really kicks the number down. 15 million signing. And now we're looking at about 13 mil per season with a prorated bonus of, we'll call it $1 million a year. So we'll go 12.5 million. And then we'll go 15.5. $1 million. 12.5, so 25 million. 15. So 30 million there, 15 there. Okay, so one more year. These numbers would be close. They're not exact. So it only allowed me one void year. Didn't give me both. All right, so we got L'Jarius Sneed, AJ Epinesa, Jared Goff is extended, Penei Sewell's extended, Amon Ra's extended. What are we looking at? Ooh, 13 million in cap space. So we barely have enough right now to sign our rookies. And we haven't done anything else as far as cap. But if you look at the next year, we've now gone from 85 million to 58 million. Yep, we still got to finish out the 53, but we actually have 90 guys to get on this roster, and we're only halfway there. So again, you could go in and fudge a lot of these numbers, like, you know, for instance, Jared Goff is making 30 million this year. Maybe he takes, 25 million this year, and you save 5 million there. AJ Epinesa is making 6.6 million. Well, maybe you cut that down by, 2.6, and he's only making 4. L'Jarius Sneed, I could definitely work this, and probably cut 8 million off of that. So let's just say we do all of that, and you add another 17 million to this cap space. You realistically could do that. Here, I'll rework L'Jarius Sneed because I think that is one that you could get done a little bit differently. He maybe doesn't need to take as much money in the beginning. So we'll throw in 2 void years. I think it only gives me 1 signing bonus. What do we put down? 15 million. And that's the other thing. We could do a bigger signing bonus, which these are huge numbers, but let's say he takes 5.5. We'll go 5 flat. And $1 million to make the roster, and 5 million guaranteed. Next year, he's going to take 15 million, 1 million, 20. We'll give him 5 million guaranteed. And then this year, probably going to go up to 15.5. 15, 20.5. That'd be 40.5. So 5, 9, 10, 20, 40, 50, 58. It's close. Change this to 17.5. Now we're closer. But hey, that's why they get paid to use the money, right? That's right. All right. So now let's see what we've got left. We should be closer a little bit, 20 million. So we got 10 million to play with. And we've got to fill out a bunch of guys. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you're signing, 30, 40 of these guys, I mean, that's going to cost, pennies on the dollar when you're looking at, league minimums. Practice squad guys, UDFAs, they're only getting, a couple $100,000 at the most. So if you bring in 15 guys from UDFA, what is that going to cost you? 1.5 million, 2 million, maybe. They don't get, big contracts being UDFAs. That's what those, guaranteed $100,000 bonuses are for, $20,000 bonuses. They still get a weekly paycheck. Undrafted free agents. This is back in November of 2021. Undrafted free agents receive about $150 per day, and all of their travel and hotel expenses are taken care of. That seems really low to me. In 2020, an NFL team spent roughly $8 million on base salary guarantees for UDFAs. That's really, really small. So I guess here's where I'm at. The reason I wanted to go through this exercise tonight is, one, I wanted to show you guys all the holes. We have some big holes. So how are we going to, with the limited amount of money that the Lions have, how are they going to fill all these holes with big names? It's going to be very difficult. And I think that, again, could I mess with Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah, I could. I could probably, whack that number in half. But you know what? You rob Peter, you're paying Paul at some point. And if you look at, the way that I did this, we've got more money available in 2026 than we do in 2025. I could probably even those numbers out a little bit, and it would put more money into 2024. But that means everyone's going to be willing to take, a reasonable contract. So when you look at 2025 and you've got Aiden Hutchinson to do and a couple of other guys, you're right back into the thick of it again. It's going to be a vicious cycle, which is what it is. So I hope that this was enlightening a little bit. That's all I wanted it to be tonight. And I ran past my time to do the drawing. So let me get it pulled up. I apologize. We've got 70 people in here. I'm going to do 70 numbers. And the way it works is it's just going to randomize a number. And whatever number the live chat replay is, is who's going to win. Not one again. Yeah, I can't do anything about that part. I don't have any control over what the randomizer does. All right, so we have roughly 70 people in here. Just so you can see the number, it's randomized 1 to 70. Last time it only took 1 second. We'll let it spin for 10 seconds this time. Or 9 seconds. No duplicates. There you go. 1 to 70. We're going to let it go. We're going to let it spin. All right, here we go. Oh, I just saw that one. 46. Yep, 46. Making sure I'm reading it right. So the 46th chat in the live chat replay will win. And you're going to get a pair of sunglasses, or I'm going to send you a little gift card by email so you can order yourself some blenders. And then a Barry Sanders replica statue, which obviously I'll need to send it to an address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post in the community tab the winner. And the winner is going to have 24 hours to contact. And as long as you contact me and you give me, the information that we need to send you the gift, you'll win. If it goes past 24 hours, I'm just going to re-randomize it, and you're just going to have to trust me. So that's how we do it. We try to keep it open and honest and clean and fun and enjoyable. You guys have been awesome. We're just, like I said, we're a little bit over a year into this. We started YouTube in October. It's been a blast. And we're on our way to 10K next. That's the next goal. So we want to get there by the time the season starts. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough journey to get there. But with your help, with liking the streams, with showing up, sharing the streams with your friends, your family, your Lions fans, that's how we get there. And that's why you guys are the best sponsors and supporters. And what I mean by sponsors is liking the show is being a sponsor. Sharing the show is being a sponsor. It's not money. It doesn't require money to be a sponsor. And I'll throw this out there for my sponsor. If you guys have not visited Sports Spider, please visit sportspider.com. That is SPORTSPYDER. Sportspider.com. You get all of your sports in one place. I love it, man. It's a great website. You can whittle everything down so that you can all of your groups in there. It's a great place to be. So Man, Nemesis Breaks just subscribed. Appreciate you. And let's see if we can get this stream up to, a couple thousand views. I know it's a little bit tough in the last half hour, kind of going through some of the, the draft simulators, but it is what it is. Next one up, we'll be doing a PFF mock draft simulator, probably on Tuesday. I'm going to take a day off tomorrow, aside from doing the normal videos, but I won't be doing a live tomorrow. New schedule will be coming out soon. We have, free agency period opening up on March 11th at midnight. And then we have the combine next week, Thursday. So everything's going to change come this Thursday. Everything starts to change, and I'm looking forward to it. So, all right, y'all. Appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. It's been another edition of Rocked On Detroit Lions Off the Cuff podcast. And wherever you are, hope you guys are safe. Enjoy the night, and we'll talk to y'all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.